Hey everybody, this is Anne. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips. Happy Monday, or at least Monday. It's definitely Monday today. I hope you all are nonetheless having an okay Monday, at least an okay Monday, not a terrible Monday. I'm having a sleepy Monday, but I'm getting over it. How's it going? Yeah, morning-ish. Hey Margaret, hey Kaz, hey Jedi Jared, and Zebo, and Iggy, and Image of Betrayal, and Stephanie, and Enki. All of the peeps. Good. We're going to be low-key while I wake up. Although it's, how was everybody's weekend? Kiri went to the ocean, and I promptly forgot to post pictures on the interwebs. I wonder if I think I might have you guys up on my phone. Let me see here. Where's my Discord? Let's see, there's the Reaper Discord. There's a pets thing, isn't there? Let's see here. Pet pictures. All right, pet pictures. Let me put up a quick picture of Kiri at the ocean. 1 second. This will be easy. Where's a good Kiri? Couple good Kiri pictures at the ocean. Kiri at the ocean? And then I'll put another Kiri at the ocean. Kiri in the surf. There we go. All right, I have put Kiri pictures. There are 2 pictures of Kiri at the ocean from this weekend. On Pet Pictures on the Reaper Discord channel, Pet Pictures. And so you guys can go and see my Kiri dog at the ocean. Hey, good morning, Cornico and McKnight and Francis and Steven and Sepulchrex. Gosh, that's hard to say. It's Monday, hard to say anyway. Hey, Freestyle. So yes, and Billa and Jay and Xandercleese, and Rex. Good morning. So I just put pictures of my dog Kiri up on the Reaper Discord on Pet Pictures. We went to the ocean on Saturday morning. We drove down to Santa Cruz, which is a beautiful drive. I didn't realize how beautiful. Mountain View is indeed at the foot of the what turns into the Santa Cruz Mountains, which are very low mountains. Just really a low mountain range that really is little more than hills. Headed down from here in the valley over to the ocean. So we drove south through those, and it is a gorgeous drive. I did not realize how beautiful it was. You can pretty much just, after you get out of Mountain View, you just climb up into mountains, and you get like pine trees and redwoods and everything, and you swoop down, and suddenly, poof, you're at the ocean. It's awesome. So it was a great drive, and Kiri really enjoyed the drive. She looked really happy through the whole thing. And we met some friends and social distance walked for a bit and chatted with them, which was nice, miniatures friends, and got out a bit, so to speak. And then Kiri got to go into the ocean, which she totally did with aplomb and was unimpressed. Because Kiri, well, for one thing, like 12-year-old dog, right? But she didn't freak out. She wasn't scared, even when the waves are kind of freakish because they don't surf on that beach. I think they might have the world's dog surfing competition at that beach because the waves are very small. But there was still a variance in the waves, and so we did get a bigger one that went up like over my knees and up like to her chest. But she was just like, she didn't freak. Like she was just like, whoa, Mom, this is kind of weird. So Kiri did the ocean very well, so I was very proud of her. And she went back in when we won, and we waited in the surf. She thought the sand was weird too, because she'd never been on beach sand before, so that was a new experience. It definitely gave her a workout though, because I noticed her legs were like kind of trembling at the end of all of it, because there was a lot for old dog to do in a morning. So she was pretty crashed for the rest of the day, but yeah, she did really well at the ocean. So we'll probably go back. And it was nice; it wasn't too crowded, and there were people out walking their dogs and stuff. So that was our adventure, and now you can go over to Pet Pictures on the Reaper Discord and see 2 pictures of Kiri at the ocean. So you see my doggy. All right, so speaking of animals, let us segue. Let us go to the camera. Hold on, let me deactivate my intro. There you go. The camera. We are back on the Spirit Beast. Let's see here. Yeah, she did enjoy the outing for sure, Kerniko. She went when she was little. She didn't like the car because she got car sick when she was a puppy. But since then, she's gotten to really like car rides, which was great since we had to do the 1,600 miles out to California in the first place. And really, she was just so excited to get in the car, and she was so happy to be, like, driving with David and I. She just had a happy dog face on for the whole trip. And yeah, so it was a good experience for her. Like, I like getting her out and about. I honestly think the leaf blowers and lawnmowers at the park across the street bother her more than the whole Pacific Ocean did. She's just par for the course for my dog. Such a weird dog. Kiri, you're such a weird dog. She's like, I'm sleeping. Quit waking me up. So, I don't know if Inara is in chat this morning, but I decided... Inara, was asking about some just qualities of the Dungeon Dwellers paints, and so I decided, by the way, for those of you on my Patreon, I'm going to be covering... I'm going to do a feature on the Dungeon Dwellers for the next few months. I'll do 3 at a time. I'm working on the PDF, almost have the PDF finished for the first one now, so $5 people, you will be getting your Color Workshop PDF. I figured since the Dungeon Dwellers got given to a lot of people at ReaperCon, that it was a good topic to cover kind of the same way I did the holiday colors, so I'll be giving like triads for them and stuff. So that's what takes time, right, is I have to get out all my paints and figure out what the best triads are, interesting triads are for like paints that weren't designed with triads around them. And also kind of brainstorm and try them out on different types of subjects. So what I'm doing here, by the way, is I'm just touching up the legs. I missed a couple mold lines, and I wanted to fix those. The nice thing about... we're a little tired, but pretty okay for a Monday, the dwarf mine. I made banana bread again this weekend, and I didn't screw it up. It wasn't banana pudding this time. It actually turned out really well with a new flour mix that I was working with, so I'm pretty happy. We had banana bread for breakfast. It was great. There are a few breakfasts better than toasted banana bread. Definitely there are breakfasts that are better for you, but as far as tastiness goes. So what I did here is that pretty much I missed some mold lines. The great thing about bones, though, especially, this is bones or bones black, is when you miss a mold line, you really just have to take your hobby knife and slice it away and paint over it. I don't really have problems with paint adhering when I do that. I missed one on the interior here, so I'm going to get it. And I'm just using very gentle pressure to kind of shave away this mold line. You don't want to gouge the plastic if you can help it, so kind of keep a real light touch on it, just enough to shave that little bit off. If you need to shave twice to get the whole mold line, then you're good. Yes. Oh, and yeah, Zuo, thanks. The bot is a little bit wonky lately, but my Patreon, for those who aren't members but might be interested in the Dungeon Dweller thing, is patreon.com/paintingbig, all one word. And I do a lot of PDFs on there, and I do videos that are a little more focused than what I do in here, because obviously for Twitch, the interaction is half the story, and the fact that I get to stop and answer questions and give you guys information on various things. We kind of can go off topic and stuff, but the nice thing about the Patreon is that I can do a video that's very concise on one subject, and then often I'll do a companion PDF if it's a very complex subject or if I had time to get work in progress shots. So it's a good... I consider the Patreon like a better intensive learning tool. Like if you're trying to do focused learning on topics, I think the Patreon is very good for that. This is nice as kind of an informal paint along to try a couple of new techniques and get basic questions answered and stuff like that. I think this stream has a nice kind of balance. I have to go over information multiple times, obviously, as we get new people in the stream. I'm going to be answering a lot of the same questions, but that does help reinforce it for those of you who are still learning too. So I think that both the Patreon and this stream are both very useful. I hope anyway. All right. What is the best way to remove mold lines on metal miniatures? I use diamond files to dwarf mine. I actually use a combination. Like earlier in my life, I always used a knife because the files, the regular files that I used were so craptastic. And I still find that is true of non-diamond files. I am not impressed. They get clogged so easily and they don't do much. So I like diamond files. Let me see if I have my diamond files over here. I have at least one pack of diamond files. Diamond files actually have micro diamond chips on them, and they will say diamond files. They come in various grits, just like sandpaper. It doesn't really matter what you get. I think these are both 40 grit or 100 grit. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, the nice thing about diamond files is that I find them a lot easier to clean. They come in a nice small size as well as a big size. And they take off mold lines with very little pressure because of the diamond. So you do have to be careful with them, and you have to use a light pressure. But I find that it gets the mold lines off with so much less effort that I really like it. Xandercleese, actually, the dark underside, it probably doesn't, because painting the dark underside of robes is as simple as paint it black. I assume you're talking about kind of like the unsculpted, like, chunk that you get, like, on the bottom of loincloths like this here, on the Frost Giant Queen. Every painter in the world is going to tell you, just paint it dark. Like, most of us just use walnut or black. I use walnut because that's what I use. But nobody is going to look at the underside of your robe, and all you need is a shadow to show up there. If you want, you could use the shadow color that you're using up here. Or you could even highlight a little bit at the edge just to show that it's the edge of the cloth, and just have the rest be painted black in shadow, and that will create the illusion that there is an edge to the cloth. But you're going to get that illusion anyway by highlighting the edge that's raised toward the light. So, I mean, I don't need that on the Patreon. I can give that to you for free. It's like, a minute. But yeah, so don't overthink it. If something is on the underside or deeply buried, just flood it with walnut. This area back behind her arm where the cape is, I'm not going to paint that. I'm just going to flood it with walnut. Like, if I have time and I can reach it, I might put a suggestion of the color of the cape back there, just so it's not totally unpainted. But in general, if you have deep areas, like up behind her hand here, there's kind of just a shelf, because that's the way the molding process had to go. Paint it black. Paint it black or walnut. That's it. You're done. And nobody expects you to paint that. Like, it's just it's a molding thing. We don't expect you to drill it out or anything. It's just, paint it dark and it will disappear. So that is the D. The dealio on that, so to speak. Hey, Heather. Hey, Trouble. So yeah, Dwarf Mine. So for metal miniatures, I find a combination of knife and diamond file. Now, there are mold lines that are really not doable with either of those. Like, if you have a mold line that's kind of on, like, if I had a mold line that's in here, and this surface is really concave. So it's concave. I can't really get a knife up into it. I can't get the knife to go flat against it. See, I can't get in there. It's a little divot in the putty, or in the resin in this case. And then the only answer is to use green stuff or another putty to actually sculpt over the top of it. When you've got a concave area where a knife and a file won't get in there flat, they won't, it's a curved area. The only way to tackle it is with green, and just essentially putting down a thin layer of green. I actually did that right up here. I had a mold line that went right here down the edge of this cloak, and I couldn't get it flat. I couldn't get a knife or a file flat against it to take it down. So it was actually easier for me to just mix up some green stuff, which is the blue-green epoxy putty that a lot of sculptors used to use to sculpt with, and just lay down a real thin layer of green and smooth it in. And that way I fill in the mold line. I don't change the sculpt very much. As you can see, you can't really tell that I did it after I primed it. So, competition pieces, especially, this is a competition piece. The green stuff is actually the best answer, I think, because you don't risk scarring the surface. If it's a mold line going down a surface like this, where I can easily slice it off and then file it, I do that. But anytime you're dealing with a concave surface and you can't get a knife or a file flat against it, green stuff is the answer. Green stuff, or like Abe's Epoxy Sculpt, is also really good for that. Abe's is nice because, like Milliput, if you add a little water to it, it kind of goes into a slurry. It becomes a paste. And so for some people, they find that a lot easier to smooth in, right, with a finger or with a soft sculpting tool like a clay shaper. So it doesn't really matter what putty you use, as long as you can get it nice and thin enough to blend into the surrounding surface. But yeah, so the tools are the same. Okay, the difference between a competition piece and a, piece for stream or a Reaper Gallery or just a gaming piece, I've got them all here. Although for gaming pieces, I often don't clean off all the mold lines because I'm lazy like that. But the only difference is the amount of time and trouble you take. Like, I'd use the same techniques on everything I do, And the only difference is how far am I going to go to get that surface perfect. If it's for competition, I'm going to go as far as I can to get that surface as flawless as possible, because I don't want to be downgraded on my prep, right? Prep is something I can completely control, and good prep is totally doable by anybody. So for me to just slack on prep on a competition piece doesn't make sense. It's an easy win. If the judges are going to downgrade me on anything, let them downgrade me on the quality of my sculpting or painting. Let them not ding me because I left a huge mold line, right? So go for the easy wins there. Make sure your model is nicely cleaned, because almost everybody has the ability to nicely clean their models with a bit of time and effort. Hey, Otter Mama. If I didn't say hi already. The official Tazlanch. Wow, Tazlanch, you got upgraded. The official Tazlanch. Yeah, I mean, when they're not very deep, right, Hercules? Okay, so, but usually they're not going to be very deep, because it's the molding process, right? So it's not like you're going to get this and then an undercut, unless you've got a separate piece loincloth, and then you paint the back before you ever put it on. But when it's an undercut, it's typically not going to be that deep unless there's been just a molding flaw. Even then, at that point, I just try to take a big glob of walnut or black on my brush and just stuff it up there. Like, use a brush that you don't care about, and just stuff it up there and try to get everything you can. If you can't reach it with a brush, chances are you're not going to be able to see it. I see. Well, I do like that you are the official Tazlanch. Hey, Fenrir, how's it going? We're just talking about things like mold lines, taking mold lines off on various pieces, because I was just taking some extra mold lines off on Spirit Beast here, because I had missed some stuff on the front of the legs, and I was showing people. It just really is a... Get up there, Frost Giant. It really is easy. I mean, because Bones material, you don't have to prime it to paint it, so if you miss a spot, like I did on this knee, you can just really take the knife and gently scrape it off. You don't want to gouge the surface. You want to scrape it off gently, and then you can reapply. Brush it off. Make sure you get it all off there. Then you can reapply paint. Very easy. And I never, like, if I'm doing a touch-up on a bones like this, I never have to prime. I mean, I don't prime my bones anyway, so... Where the robe flips up, like... Okay, so... Oh, like if the cape flips up, like, and you can see it, like if this was going up in the air, and you could actually see the edge. In that case, it's the same answer as Anacles. I would paint it with a slight example of here. Let's just pretend that this is flipping up in the air, so you can actually see the underside of it. Let's say it's a trailing edge and it's flipping up. Yeah, I paint it black, and say she was wearing sea green robes, I would do an edge, so you can see the edge of the fabric. And then honestly, that would be about what I would do. I might take here, let's say, it's just a basic blend. Like, don't overthink it. This is not a hard topic. Here, hold on, let me show you. Get this mixed up. So I'm grabbing the two colors I'm using on Spirit Beast here, the Tianzia Jade and the Mint Green. So if my Frost Giant had a robe of this color, I would be using the Tianzia to kind of like blend in from that edge. But when it comes down to it, this is an underside. It's not a important part of the model. You know, it's just kind of an artifact of the fact that we can't sculpt cloth razor thin on miniatures. So I just put the edge on. Greetings. Xandercleese has completely derailed us. Everybody blame Xandercleese. That's what I'm saying. Just kind of blend it in. Like, sweet. All good. And then when you've got that rough blend, I can pick up my edge again. Make sure your edge is, you know, an appropriate color for the edge of the cloth. And then, honestly, I would just leave it, like, blended like that. I would blend it into black at the middle. I would, in fact, treat it as if, because this is the only, like, logical explanation, even though it's not really the explanation, but I would treat it like like the back and front of the cloak are indeed two separate cloths, and that there is a pocket between, because that's the way it's been sculpted. So it's really the only way that you can deal with it in a logical fashion, unless you're just going to paint it dark. And I will be very honest with you here, most of us would just paint it black. Most of us would not do this. It's only if you feel like it looks really wrong and you've got to put something there, then I would do this blending thing where I would just blend it out from, you know, depending on the color of the cloth, and leave the center part really close to black, like I'm blacking in here. So honestly, that's how I do it, assuming that her cloak was this color. And that's it. That's all I would do. It's not, you never want to spend a lot of time painting a part of the figure that really is just kind of an artifact and not important, because the more time you spend on a part of the figure, the more the person who picks up your figure is going to assume that's important. So this is beyond unimportant. This is like this is kind of a flaw that we wish we didn't have to deal with in miniatures. It's just a story of our life, because, you know, it can't be super thin and still be on mold. So honestly, for me, it's just a black. And maybe I get the edge. Maybe. Depends on how much it's going to flip up and annoy me. But yeah. So that was it. That'd be what I would do. But I believe very strongly in not spending extra time on stuff that people just, that isn't important to the figure. Like, and there are times when I will. Like, there are times when, just paint dark. Don't worry about it. But yeah, it depends on the model, but it's just like, if it's thin Xandercles, just paint it black. I find that a lot of people, you should be spending your energy on the important part of the model. Like, get the face right, you know, or blending, or doing, you know, getting all those doodads on the belt painted up, right, you know, and staying in the lines, practicing your lining. Worry about that. Don't worry about crap like the underside of a robe. That's my opinion. Alrighty, what am I doing? Oh yes, legs. I was doing legs today. What are we? It's leg day. Oh no. Let's do some blue legs. Blue down to black. We are not covering eyes today, Xandercles. You get one derailment a day. And then people actually want to, like, see more Spirit Beast. The Spirit Beast is going to fight back now, it's going to say. Xandercles, sit back. And if you want something on eyes, if you're on my Patreon, you need to go just look at the video I already did on tiny eyes. I did a video on eyes, on 28mm. I don't know that I've done one on eyes for a bust yet. I don't think I have. Though people are asking for it this month or next, so. So our mix for blue, again, is 4 drops clear magenta and 2 drops of Tianzia, because red and green make blue. As this was the party trick that I was showing everybody last week. And I need just a little bit more. It's almost blue. Need a little bit more green. I heard a live mic from Justin. Like he was going to say something.
There it goes. Yeah. No, I've been fighting mouse problems for the last 30 minutes, Anne.
No, not mouse problems.
I had to plug in an old mouse because I picked up a new one yesterday because I had 2 total mice, right? One of them died on me yesterday, so I went and got a new one. And that one I've already had problems with.
Oh, no.
So now I'm going to be returning it after the show today.
Oh, no. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about your mouse issues. Apparently,
no, it's okay. I mean, honestly, the thing felt great. It was kind of cool. It was solidly wireless. The pricing was pretty solid, but it was I'm really disappointed with this thing. It was registering a double click every time I left click.
Oh wow.
And so it was a firmware problem, pretty sure. And I don't want to wait around until they get their problem fixed. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And for people curious, this is the Iron Claw RGB wireless by Corsair. Not to
to diss them on stream or anything.
But hey, I have a little bit of a platform, and let me tell you, damn it, it's like the old man shaking the cane in the yard. This product is not good. Well, everything about it is fine except for the double clicking.
Yeah, but that seems like you say, it seems like it's just an integral issue they need to address. Nathophile, work on custom bases. I mean, I was just working on one the other day. Do I work on them on stream? I'm working on my Frost Giant base continuously on stream. Although I haven't done any work since the other day, where I was doing the bricks here on the side and up top. So yeah, this is a custom base that I was working on stream because one of the things they requested here for the stream was for me to show how to do a big base, how I would do a big base for a big model. So that's Frost Giant's base. It is constructed of wood, cork, plastic card, green stuff, and wood putty so far. And so yeah, I have several streams in the last couple weeks where I work on that base. Actually, it's Terrain Tuesday is usually when I work on it. So it's the Tuesday streams from Pro Tips. Makes it easy to find. I may have done a few non-Tuesday ones to open it up, to start it up. I don't remember. If you mean Mathophile, do I work on custom bases on my Patreon? So far I haven't, but I certainly will be, painting the Frost Giant for the Patreon, which will include the base. It really depends. Like, if people ask on my Patreon, when you join my Patreon, I usually ask if there's something you'd like me to touch on. And if somebody puts in there that they would like to see me work on, say, a snow base or a custom base where I do a lot of sculpting, or, doing work on a custom base could be so many different topics, right? You have to be a little more specific. So, am I working on the base, on the actual building of the base, like Tuesday I've been doing? Am I working on the painting of the base, on the composition of the base? So. Let me look at what you guys are talking about. Probably mouses, because mouses rather than mices or mices or mice.
Yeah, Kane, I saw that too. That's what I had read.
All right.
Kane said they had the same mouse. They had the same problems, by the way, and I had heard that it was the latest firmware for the mouse, and to to update to the older firmware, and that's fine. I'm not in any, I just got it yesterday. I'd rather return it now before. To me, that's a big red flag. If I had already had it for a while, I would accept that as a solution. But since I picked it up yesterday and it's easy to return, I'm not. But I appreciate it, Kane.
All right, so looking at this critter, since I'm already violating what it actually is, because this is probably all supposed to be deer or elk, and I'm ignoring it and making part of it leopard, and now I'm going to make these more like horse legs, even though they're sculpted like deer legs. And you could do this. You could ignore the sculpt and go crazy. It's a fantasy creature, for gosh sakes. So let's see here. Got to go to my interwebs again, because on the interwebs they will tell you all sorts of horse patterns and show you, how the horse patterns tend to go, different horse patterns you could do. And they're very persnickety about it. But the important part is that you can get a dark leg with a white sock or a white fetlock on it. And that's what I was thinking I would do today, is I would do a dark lower leg, and then do, short socks above the hoof. And the other important thing to know is that if you have a white sock on the leg, your hoof is going to be paler if you're going for realism. This partial coronet essentially just has a partial strip, so they still have some black on the hoof. So there are some black next to the hoof, so it still can be partially black hoof. If you have no white socks, your hooves are usually dark, and it's usually a dark gray. Hooves can also be striped. If you look online on horse hooves, you can get all sorts of interesting hoof patterns. Let me see if I've got some other images. A lot of these are going to be just drawn instead of actual photos, but you can get all sorts of pictures of horse legs. There's a coronet, so you can do all sorts of stuff. Always look for real world references and see if you can come up with something cool. I've decided I'm going to use my blue to get some darker socks on the horse, or the spirit beast in this case. Let me see, make sure I'm not missing any paint stuff. Nope, you guys are still talking about mice. All good. I don't like to miss things.
I'm sorry, Ann.
No, it's okay. I just like to make sure that I'm actually happy that I'm not missing questions as I'm going on about looking on the interwebs for references. So we're good.
In the world of mice, though, because I know that you do have somewhat of an opinion on this, because you do love Overwatch.
I do love Overwatch.
favorite type of mouse that you use, or
Well,
like, do you
actually,
have any preferences?
I am such a fangirl that I own. I went full bore. I own the Razer Overwatch mouse.
What? Oh man. Wait, is that a Death Adder?
Yeah, it
Do you mind
is.
turning that on the side?
Here.
See, fun fact, that is my absolute favorite FPS mouse of all time, by the
Yep.
way. The Death Adder, that
Yep.
original one. They don't seem to make that one anymore.
Really? Oh
They
wow.
released a version 2 without rubber side grips, and it's just got this
Oh.
cheap plastic checkered crap on the side. I have one,
Oh.
and actually that's my backup mouse that I'm currently using, and I'm so disappointed with it because I want it to be like the original one. I
Right.
can't even get the original one anymore unless I guess I
Wow.
go back and order an older one.
So mine is vintage, and I should hang on to
It
it.
is it is now the one issue those had was the more you use the side rubber grips, like if you use the hell out of it and you grip it hard, they
Yeah.
come off. Like the
Oh,
adhesive
interesting.
slips off.
Yeah, I usually
So
don't grip them really hard because I'm not that tilted. but but yeah, actually David and I had a great night on Overwatch last night. We destroyed. So, yeah, it was good. But yeah, I really like that mouse. I mean, I also own all the Overwatch branding. So I actually own the keyboard too that has the orange lights and the logo and everything. So and it's all Death Adder. It's all that style, right? Because it came out several years ago. So, but yeah, that's what I use for gaming. I do really like that mouse. I am with you on that. So now I'll know to take extra good care of it and not drop it and try to screw it up or anything. But yeah, I've been really pleased with the Razer stuff. So I think I would probably go back to them for my next set of peripherals whenever I need them. But I'm not like a super high-end gamer. I definitely computer game for fun rather than trying to be hyper competitive at it. I'm just not good enough at it to be hyper competitive and stay happy.
yeah, I do feel like the newest version of this mouse they made smaller and smoother.
Yeah,
And maybe that's my problem is
because you have big hands.
like I have giant hands. So like not only that, but I have a palm grip, so I swallow every mouse I use basically.
Oh yeah.
And it takes like the one I found that had a perfect grip for me was the Steel Series, and it's the one that broke on me. The Rival 650 wireless, the Steel Series one, and it's fantastic, except that it just doesn't register right clicks anymore. So like I've had two clicker issues, and I can't reasonably buy another one of these because one, they're expensive, so I'm gonna get a warranty on this one.
Yeah.
But like two, I can't justify. The product didn't prove itself.
Right.
I didn't have it that long. I only had it like 6 months or something like that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Valandar, I'm not a fan of shooters either. Overwatch is the only shooter that I have ever really tried and liked, possibly because Overwatch is structured more like something else, like a MOBA or something, more than a shooter. It has definite character classes whose abilities are not based on shooting. So it was a lot friendlier for me coming from World of Warcraft to get into Overwatch as my first quote-unquote shooter. It's not a hardcore shooter, though. So you can play it like that if you play the characters that are very much hit scan, but there are a lot of other character types. But yeah, so there we go. So what I'm doing, guys, here is since I'm working from an almost white to a very dark, I am putting several layers of this blue, which is very transparent. It is the mixture of green and magenta. Why am I using this blue instead of a different blue? Because I'm trying to stick to the same color palette for the model. If I use a color that's a mixture of two colors that are already on the model, then I can guarantee that this color will go with the color scheme of the mini. Because a lot of this color is going to end up kind of in the shadows along with some magenta. So the fur is mostly going vertically here with a slight slant toward the rear. So I'm leaving some brush strokes when I'm fading in these socks to suggest that hair. Obviously, I can't get as fine as the hair would be in real life since this is a 28 millimeter figure, and so any brush stroke on it is going to be much more huge than any hair. But I can at least suggest that texture, so I will. And then I will leave those strokes kind of at the top of the sock, and I don't mind if they're a little clumsy because then I'm going to come down with the white here and blend them in. And then I will continue that same brush stroke, but I'll start further down on the sock to make it darker toward the bottom. To make my legs look like they fade into black, like a bay horse's would. And being a American female, I did have a period of time during my teenage years where I was obsessed with horses, so I learned all this stuff early and then never forgot it. So that's why we're pretending our deer is a horse. I was not obsessed with deer. I do not know about deer markings, but I thought it would be fun to make this more horse-like. Oh, lol, Valendar. So we are just blending in and getting here. I'll start here so you guys can see. So remember your hair direction and do a brush stroke that's like in that hair direction. Kind of blend it up into here. Leave little strokes at the top to suggest the hairs and then blend down. So build up your layers as you go down so it starts fainter but gets darker quickly. And this is, of course, fine for doing any sort of like horse or equine or anything with dark socks, really. And even, especially at bigger scales where you can really suggest the hair direction. Little guys like this is more like you're just kind of suggesting it and letting it go. But if you're working on a 90mm horse and rider or something like that, you really have a lot of room on the horse to suggest hair pattern and all that. So you can go a little bit more in detail, but I would still use this technique. I just would use it differently. Which is really the core of mini painting, is you develop a few basic techniques and then you learn how to iterate on them. And the iterations are infinite depending on what scale you're working at and what subject matter you're working at. There are very few new techniques in miniature painting. People every once in a while will try to reinvent an old technique, like with two-brush blending. But in general, it's still wet on wet blending. It's just how you do it. And David even remarked on that. He's like, he was watching me how I wet blend, and he's just like, you're essentially two-brush blending, but you're only using one brush. And I'm like, yeah. Two-brush blending is just wet blending that involves an extra brush, which I find too complicated. So I just do it with one brush. But some people really like it, and it really suits their style to work with both brushes when they wet blend, and they like it a lot better than having to be, because if you try to do it with one brush, you have to do it so speedy. But I just that was the way I like started to wet blend, so it's just the way I always have done it. Got a little bit of a plastic sitting there from when I was shaving down mold lines. Now, another thing is when you want to start these socks, you want to make sure your paint is a little bit translucent. You can kind of see there on the palette, it's not full strength. Hey, Scott, that's fine. We got totally distracted early on in this discussion.
Thanks, Kane. I'll have to check that out, actually.
We've been distracted by computer mice. We've been distracted by the underside of cloth and how to paint it. We've been distracted by a whole bunch of stuff. And Kiri at the Ocean. We were distracted briefly by that as well, because I put up pictures of her on the Discord on Pet Pictures, because she went to
I'm
the ocean.
okay with that distraction, though.
With the Kiri at the Ocean distraction. Did you go look at the pictures, Justin?
I did.
Isn't she a cutie?
Kiri is my favorite big dog of all time. I'm not a big fan of big dogs.
Kiri's a
She's
sweetie.
just so gentle and sweet.
Yes, she is. She's chill. She met a husky puppy at the park the other day. There's a very obnoxious husky puppy that somebody just got in our neighborhood, and her name is Grace. And she is anything but graceful. She just tries to jump on the head of every big dog she meets. But after her first attempting to jump on Kiri's head, the second time she met her, she was really cute. She pretty much wiggled and fell over, so it was adorable. She has one blue eye and one brown eye, and she's a black and white husky puppy. She is adorbs. But oh my god, her owner... It's a good thing he's a young guy who seems like he has energy, because he's gonna need it with that dog. Hey, thanks for the sub, New Code. Yes, happy Monday. Thank you for the Twitch Prime. Justin, what are we at for the month? Or for our load? I need to know when I absolutely have to figure out this paint set that we're giving away.
That right there, new encodes sub puts us, I believe, at 21.
All right, yeah.
If not 22, 21 or 22. It's one of those two.
All right, good.
Oh, I do love birds. Sidway's here. Look at that. So, did you watch the game on Friday night by chance, Ann?
The game on Friday night, which I
Yeah,
didn't.
the Reaper D&D game.
No, I missed it. I'm sorry. I was cooking.
No, it's fine. It's no problem. Well, after the show, I was talking to Frank and Ann, and they've got a parrot, and this is awful because I don't remember what kind of parrot it is. It's really small and it's adorable, and it eats their trees on their terrain table if they don't stop them. In fact, I realize now I don't know the bird's name. Sorry, Ann, but it's adorable. It's an adorable bird. It really is.
Parrots
Just sat on Frank's head.
Yeah, parrots are hardcore because they can live 40 or 50 years. So when you take on that bird, you are taking on a very long-term commitment. At least the big birds can live that long. So the macaws.
Luna.
Oh, Luna.
And it's she said it's a cinnamon green cheek.
Oh, conures. Yeah, conure. Are conure. They okay? So are they? Is this bird as loud as the sun conure is, Sidwee? Because I had a friend with a sun conure, and oh my gosh, it was so loud when that bird was uppity. It had the loudest screech of any bird that I've ever met. Oh, he's a squeaker. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's cute.
He is adorable. Unbelievably
awesome.
Adorable. And very pretty, too.
Yeah, I think they have a lifespan more like 30 years? 20, 30 years? Am I right on that, Sidney? Because I know the big parrots can go 40, 50. Like, they can get old. Maybe even older than that. He got riled up with you saying his name.
I think, personally, Luna needs to make a cameo for Reaper Air.
Oh, Nomad Zeke has it. If I got a parrot, I'd teach it to say, I'm still getting used to this body. Yes.
I like that. Good call, Nomad. And thank you, Sibstorm. I prefer to have my computer up because the computer just looks so technical and awesome, and I just want to show it off. So outside of that, I mean,
cool.
Maybe one of these days I'll show my mug, as it were.
His mug. Will you see him at ReaperCon or maybe at Virtual ReaperCon if he gets on camera?
I imagine Virtual ReaperCon, I'm not going to be able to avoid it because we're going to have all kinds of stuff going on. I don't think I'll be able to avoid it. I will likely be on.
Up to 30 years on that parrot. Well, that's cool, Sidney. At least you get your parrot for a long time. Kiwi's getting achy, but she's still in pretty good shape. People are very much surprised all the time that Kiwi is 12. Very good shape for a 12-year-old big dog. Yeah, thanks, Andercles. I had that thought at the end. I was like, wait a minute, isn't it older than 50? I knew that you could get to 50 pretty easily on a big parrot.
Thanks for stopping by, Heather. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, now I want to do a sock on this hoof. So I'm going to pretty much do a mixture of my blue and my white here. I'm going to mix it up. And both of these are thinned, so I don't even have to worry about thinning it. It's just going to kind of sit here on my palette. I actually am doing it. I tend to do little spot mixes here. If I need a lot of a color, I'll commit. But here... Yeah, ravens they can nomad, but I don't know how common it is. People don't keep them for pets, though, quite as often as they keep, like, parrots and conures. So, again, we're going to go in the direction of the fur. We're going to try to keep a little bit of... I don't want to totally get rid of all the dark. I want to suggest more like this one has a little sock right above his hoof. So I do want to leave a suggestion of the brush strokes going up and down here. And fading into the dark. And then I can make it stronger as I get closer to the hoof. So I'm going to bring it out onto the hoof. And you definitely, when you go down to the hoof, you want to suggest, still, you see those little brush strokes? You want to suggest the fur growing down over the hoof. I'm going to leave that little claw back there. So we'll probably go back and highlight that. Or toe, I guess it's a toe. Now I can go to my pure white and really bring out those details. So I'm going to accentuate pure white where a little bit further down. Because I want that appearance to blend a little bit. So I don't want to go right quite up to where I started. Oh, I hear the espresso machine going. Somebody's getting more caffeine. I'm jealous. I need more caffeine too.
Oh, speaking of which, I made coffee before this stream. I'm gonna go get some of that pretty soon.
Oh dear. So here I'm gonna try to like where the hair flares out over the hoof. It would catch the light, and so it would be almost pure white. So. I'm going to just keep trying to kind of suggest that furry texture and the hair without going too overboard on it. It's like a white sock. Nomad Zeke pretty much is out to terrorize people with birds, is what I'm kind of reading into what you're saying, Zeke. All right, and I did not catch the backside of that hoof sufficiently with my dark color. But that's okay, because we can do... So hooves are typically fleshier when they're with a white sock. So let me see. Where's a nice skin tone for me? Probably want to use something neutral. Yes. So if you're doing the kind of the light colored hoof, I would usually use a fleshy color. I'd probably use tan skin because they're not terribly, horse hooves are not terribly pink when they are, yeah, they're more brown actually. I might want to go even more brown. Let me see if I can get this in focus. Yeah, that's not a really good example. I'm trying to find a good example on my phone. But essentially, a horse hoof, let's see here, that has white next to it is going to go more of a beige color. Yeah, this is not a good site, so I'm totally closing it. All right, well, we'll just wing it. So somewhere between, like somewhere on driftwood brown would actually be a pretty good color for a horse hoof, and I might add in a little tan skin. Yeah, I mean, you can always do the splits also. You're right, Taslanch. You can do a vertical stripe on them. I would probably use a drop of driftwood and a drop of tan. Let's see if that goes. Some horses have fleshier colored hooves and some have more brown. So it's kind of like you could go anywhere in here. I think I'm going to do that. It's a little bit more like a 2-to-1 driftwood to tan skin. And get that color. That would work, I think. You could go darker also. Some horses have much darker brown stripes. I mean, pretty much the thing here is just probably if you're painting something like this, you want to find a horse picture that you really like and just try to duplicate what you see. Good morning, Numbat. We have been very distracted today, Numbat. It has been a very distracted Monday. I may do Terrain Tuesday again tomorrow and work on this Frost Giant. So since the hoof is, and I'm going to kind of actually feather it up against the white. Fleshy hoof. That's actually a good fleshy hoof color, I think. And the little toe there will be the same color. Get it on the other side. This one doesn't have a very pronounced split. I think it was the molding process. That's why I was questioning whether it was deer or horse hooves at the beginning. I must have been looking at that one. Alrighty. Yeah, that's a good, actually that mix of driftwood and tan skin is a pretty good color. And then, yeah, if you want to do kind of a split, because they will sometimes split toward the end, and they're often stripy. So I mixed a little white into that color. And you can just do an up and down vertical stroke to suggest that. And you can get lighter toward the end if you want. Hey, Achilles Blade, how you doing? I think Justin said Miniatures Monday was not taken because he has a lot of ReaperCon work to do, so he's not in a hurry to replace it if he can get work done on ReaperCon. Is that correct, Justin?
Correct. Like it's, well, so today, for instance, I need to meet with some people uh, and make sure that their scheduling works out for ReaperCon, as an example. But no, as of right now, there's no slot today taken, and there likely won't be. I think that maybe next Monday too. Hopefully, Josh's stuff will be ironed out. I hope.
Well, having just
Um,
moved myself, I can happily say it's a 3-week process minimal, especially to get your crap back together. So, but he's maybe moving locally, so it doesn't have quite as much disruption as I did.
he actually moved back to OKC
Oh wow.
because they were having issues finding people locally or kind of where they needed it. They found something up there that worked out, and I don't know if he'll be there from now on. He just may be there till the end of this lease or whatever. It's not too far of a move. It is definitely not local.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But it's still quite a disruption then. He can't just run down the street to get stuff from his old place. It's a 3-hour drive.
Oh, not at all.
Right.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, my name is Anne. I'm an Anne with an E. It makes me special. Just saying. All right.
A knee, as it were, right?
Don't even. I was Annie until I was 4 when I very gravely informed everyone who knew me that I was Anne, thank you. And only my mother after that had the temerity to call me Annie. I was done. Yeah, no, I was not a fan. So when you're 4 and you're correcting people on that, that was probably my mother's first sign that she had a precocious child on her hands. And I really have never let up on that, so the precocity. Don't know if that's even a word, but Dr. Seuss says I can make up words, so I'm gonna. All right, so we've got some nice kind of like lines on the hoof there, making it lighter. We have a lighter sock. My light sock isn't quite as bright as I would like it, so I'm going to go back into it with some more white. My white is thickening up just a tad, so I'm going to add just 1 brush full of water to it. This is part of like learning to kind of utilize paint consistency. It's why I actually recommend that even if you started with a wet palette, that you eventually learn to use a well palette as well. Is that it can give you a good feel for paint consistency, because you definitely can notice more, I think, or as much. It's a different kind of thing where you notice more your paint consistency and how it acts, how it is. It's easier to adjust it and have it stay that way. So if you're trying to learn paint consistency and what you can do with various consistencies of paint, I think that the well palette really is a good tool to cultivate in addition to your wet palette, because it lets you tune things more finely and to get a feel at a prolonged time. Like, I could work with this white now for an hour and get a real feel for it, or how thin it is, how does it come off my brush, how does it look when I mix it up, and get a real feel for it. And it's, going to be more familiar to me than when I need this paint consistency again. I'm going to be able to maybe nail it a little faster because I'll remember, right? Oh, this is how it looked. This is how it felt when I, loaded up my brush. This is what I could do with it. So, whereas on a wet palette, if you're adding water, sometimes it can alter it because it's adding water from the sponge or it's wicking it away. So I think it's a little harder sometimes. So if you're having trouble developing paint consistency knowledge and you're using a wet palette, try a well palette for a while and see if that helps you. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You've just played around with a different tool, which is never a bad thing. But I do think it's easier to keep paint at a particular consistency for a long time. So I recommend it for that. But if you're trying to do like spot blends, like I was doing here, where I was just mixing 2 colors, wet palette is better for that, because if I had done that on a wet palette, it would still be wet. I'd still be able to use this color instead of mixing it up again. So there's definitely things the wet palette is good for, and there's things the well palette is good for. And your painting style will dictate how much mileage you get out of each, right? And which one you get more mileage out of. And sometimes people have both, and they regularly go back and forth. And that's probably the best of all possible worlds there. There, we've got a more stark white sock on there now. Yeah. Uh-oh. My name is spelled with an E. It's just a silent E. I do prefer A-N-N-E, however, if you're going to spell my name. That is actually how it is spelled. I think all of us prefer our names to be spelled correctly, so you cannot blame me for that. Some of us have super easy names that don't have alternate spellings unless people are getting truly weird. Although these days, there's an alternate spelling for every goddamn name out there, I'm sure. I'm sure there's somebody out there, right, Justin, running around with the Justin variant for Justin, right? Are you sure?
I mean, I've never seen it, but I am almost certain that it does exist.
Yes, somewhere.
However, did I ever tell you that when I went to go do the local Savage race with the Reaper sponsored one?
Yeah.
That was, what was that, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I think it was 2 years ago. When I went to go do that, I went to go because they have this giant, almost book-size sign-in sheet. Because there's a lot of people that run it, right?
Yeah.
And when you go and find your name, you have to find your name, and then you have like a number to cross-reference it with.
Uh-huh.
There were like 6 other Justin Elliott's running the Savage race.
Oh, wow.
Spelled the exact same way mine was.
Yes, because...
Talk about not feeling unique.
Yeah, that's the problem when you have, like, an easily spellable name with no obvious variants. Although I suppose you could spell Elliot with the 2 T's, right? I don't know.
Oh, mine is spelled with 2
Oh,
T's.
is it a 2 T's? Oh, 2 T's and 2 L's. So you didn't run into an Elliot with, like, 1 T or 1 L?
There was a couple of different Elliot, like last name Elliot, different spellings.
I see, okay.
Spelled with 2 L's and 2 T's. There was even a couple of other Justins with that name.
Wow.
I was like, what in the hell?
You had clones and you didn't even know it. A strong opinion on Eric. April with a Y. Yeah, I mean, April's a little bit different. It's a springy name. I think that sometimes the Y isn't as crazy. Although it does, it is hard when you have to correct people about your spelling. I mean, my last name, my maiden last name, Forster, with the OE in it, Old German, I hated it because I had to constantly correct people on how to spell it when having official functions and things that needed a correct spelling. They always want to spell it Forest or something. So it was very annoying that way. And I always had to correct them on my first name too because they always wanted to spell it without the E. Although these days with Anne, most people will actually ask with an E before they write down your name. Because the variant is well known enough. But when you've got a Y, it's not like when you say April, they're gonna ever write down the Y unless you tell them to, right? Oh, thank you, Albavazen. That's a 8-month sub. Wow, tier 2. Sweet.
Thanks, Albavazen.
Really, Taslange? Somebody spelled David with an ED? I thought that David was, completely incorruptible. I didn't think that you could possibly come up with an alternate spelling. Yeah, poor Eric's. Eric people, they're screwed because there's so many different ways to spell Eric. And I know several different variants. Oh, Brian. The other people who are screwed are the Bryans. Because there's, at least 3 different variants on the Brian. Maybe 4 in common usage. I'm sure there's yeah, you're right. There's the Leet spelling of... Oh, yeah, Dayvid. Oh, Taslange. Oh, gosh. At this point, just like when you get of age, change your name. Oh, my. My parents didn't know how to spell, and I need to change my name. Yeah. I'm sure there are people who go to the, name change bureau and go that, There we go. We got a nice little white hoof. That's so weird, Jack. Yeah, I mean, I can see it, right? But... oh, yeah, the Shawns are also screwed. Yep. Yep. There's always the asterisks. Yeah, Sarah. Well, that's definitely a geek alteration, right? Yeah, good one, Trouble. Each of her son's unique names. I asked her why she wanted to get her boys to get beaten up. Yeah, exactly. People don't think about that, though. They don't think about consequences. Or you know, they're just thinking about themselves and what they think is neat. It's like people who buy Christmas presents for other people based on what they think is cool when it's nothing you would ever want. It's like that, only it has lifetime impact. Little sock. There. There we go. We have nice little sock on that horse. Although I need to get a bit more. I've got too dark in here, so I could glaze it, or I could just keep putting a little bit of thinned white over the top of it to bring it up. Call everyone puny human to catch all. Yeah, I don't want to get beaten up. How about sir or ma'am? Lemon jello. Wow. There are some cool names out there. What I find is interesting is which names come and go. Like some of the old-timey names that make a comeback and some that don't. My mother is a Lois, and you don't see many Loises anymore. I always wonder if that name's going to make a comeback. Maybe if it was used in a popular TV show, right? Well, Elon, you know, has suffered also, so he's just passing on the pain, I think. Alright, so now I'm just thinly glazing a little bit of white over this to like blend in so that the sock isn't too separated, just as a shadow. Don't want a really dark band in between here. And really on the front of the hoof I should do it pretty solid. Oh, Lydia. Yeah. Lydia's a pretty name. I've always liked it. There we go. So we used a little bit of a more solid stroke down the front of the hoof, which helps to make that look more like a shadow and less like a separation here. The front of the hoof would be a pretty solid line, and it's tilted toward the light, so it would get consistent highlight, even though there is a bone there. Yay. Now I need to put my hoof color down. Yeah, it would be cool to make Geralt. I'm sure there are kids being named Geralt. I'm sure. Instead of Gerald. do this. Oh, and I have to remember, even though that hoof doesn't have its cloven part sculpted or didn't fill in real well on the cast, I'll have to put that on there. So we will get there in a second. I'm blocking in my other naked hoof here. And it's going to be brown because there's a white sock. I kind of like how the brown hoof with the white sock looks, actually. I might need to do all of the hooves with socks at this rate. And also hit the little toe back here. Well, Francis, I mean, could have been just that she changed as a person. I mean, you do change quite a bit when you mature mentally, and that's usually in the late 20s when that happens. So it could just be that she felt that she associated her name, her other complicated name, with her younger self, and she wanted to make a change. Kind of like switching, from Annie to Anne. You switch from a diminutive to a more mature sounding name. Or maybe she was just sick of having to spell it. Could be totally practical. However, that is a good choice for you to do the complicated name, but then also have a nice simple middle name. Apparently, my parents were just going for British queens because I'm an Anne Elizabeth. Very good, Valander. Yeah, Valander, we did rosettes, and if you ever look at jaguar or leopard rosette spots, they are a number of spots around the outside of the internal spot that is not quite as dark. So in order to do realistic rosettes, you must do it that way. I'm going to put a darker line down the front for the cloven hoof. And I'm going to figure out where the cloven hoof is supposed to be here. I think it's right there. Put a dark shadow there. I'm kind of using my blue mixed with a little touch of Bismarck black. Even giraffes vary, though, on their bigger spots. I mean, I was out for leopard, so I looked up pictures of leopard and then did leopard. Should always use a photo reference, look around. You can always just type in spotted animals and find a spot pattern you like. I think technically I use snow leopard because somebody said snow leopard, so. I think this animal is very cute. I'm liking it. Oh, no. I would not want to be a kid named Corona because somebody's going to think you were named after the beer. Well, I do wonder if the Corona beer will change its name. I don't think they really can. But you never know. I mean, branding. I guess there would come a point where the name might just be too negative, or their marketing department might think it is. Yeah, gnolls are hyena people, Kane. So you could, when painting a gnoll, you can look up hyena for suggestions for patterns. Most of the time, gnolls are depicted as like brownish yellow or greenish yellow fur. So a little bit different than your typical hyena, which is brownish. But you could totally go and still use the patterns. Just like I did here.
I may be late to the party here, but did we get Xandercles' gift bomb?
Oh, I missed it. Xandercles gave a gift bomb?
Yes, Xandercles. Thank you for the 5 gift bomb. Yes,
dang,
that's awesome.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I'm just trying to paint hooves.
I missed it too, so.
Usually Justin doesn't have to be my catcher on that, but he totally managed to today. So thank you, Justin.
I like to like when I'm doing something else and I come back to the chat,
Yeah.
I scroll back through it and make sure I don't miss anything and see stuff that people. So thank you again, Xandercleese, for that. That's awesome.
Yes, I think I might have to like wrap the stream really quick because I'm noticing Kiri is restless and she did not do her full out this morning. So
Uh-oh.
rather than dog emergency, I think I'm gonna wrap things so you guys can see our socks and our hooves that we got on today, which all worked out really well, I think. And tomorrow, I don't know. I need to work on wings. I need to get some of the rest of this done too. So we'll do whatever we do tomorrow. We'll do more Spirit Beast tomorrow, though. Maybe we'll talk about wings. Or we can do Train Tuesday, I guess. I have not settled for sure. Yes, thank you, everybody. Yes, Victor Frankenstein, definitely old-timey scientist. All right, so do you have a raid for me, Justin?
Yes, I'm picking through one right now.
All righty. That's good. That way I can rush out a small dog. She's had butt issues a little bit lately.
You know what? Actually, I do have a raid. We haven't actually raided. We hosted him, but we haven't raided Miniatures Den in a hot minute. So
well,
let's
yeah.
go ahead and
Let's raid him. Let's turnabout. It's like you thought that we always just utilized you, Miniatures Den, but now we're gonna raid you. Sounds good.
Goes.
Thanks so much, everybody, for coming into the stream today, and I will see you tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a good one.
Yes, and remember, guys, Miniature Monday is canceled for today. I'm sorry. Doesn't mean we won't not do the episode. It'll just pick up next week. Although next week is Memorial Day, so unless something comes up, I would expect normal programming. I don't think Anne's doing anything. So, or are you, Anne? If not, we'll talk about it. Um, oh, you are? Okay, no problem. All right, we will not have a RTB Pro Tips Monday morning. I do not know if Josh will be taking it off. I am giving our streamers that option to that day. I'm not going to take the day off. I'm going to let them choose whether they want to. So, thank you guys very much. Keep being awesome. We love the hell out of you guys. You are super special to us. Use our new raid emotes if you're now a sub. Thanks, guys.